Hi guys, welcome to Analysis-Toolbox. This is Ayesh. So as requested, today I'm going to take you through a service design workshop. I'm going to tell you what goes on and why is it necessary to have such a workshop at your organization, and what should the BA should do, what are the key deliverables, and how to run one. So I've used Gamma application in order to create this transcript and facilitate this workshop for you and in creating this video, and it has been really helpful to get my thoughts out onto this deck via Gamma. That Gamma is not, I'm not sponsored by Gamma by any means, but this is only a slide deck that I've created and presenting on my own. So let's get into it. So what I wanted to give you today on this video is a practical guide for BAs or facilitators or consultants from preparation to deliverables on workshopping and service design. There are numerous times that we have heard service design workshops across Australia and New Zealand in this region, and there are lots of opportunities out there for business analysts who can facilitate the service design workshop really well and then give the deliverables back to your stakeholders for decision making. So let's get into our first slide. The first question that one would ask is simply, what is a service design workshop really, and how does it differ from a normal discovery workshop? Well, it is, at the heart of it is a discovery workshop, but this service design workshop looks at all the layers that are in the workflow, which is divided into different departments like marketing, technology, operations, and customers. In that case, it becomes a whole new perspective for not only for individual departments but to see the whole value in it, and the BS should be able to see how a service actually work from the customer's point of view. So your workshop's goal should be visualizing that end-to-end journey and identify where the improvements can be made. So that's the goal of this workshop, of such a workshop. Why is it called service design? Is because it brings together all the stakeholders on the organization to understand how their service actually works, not in their own silos. So just imagine that marketing has their own onboarding experience, but if the technology cannot adopt it, the operations downstream would fail. So there are however marketing is like really fine-tuned in their processes does not matter, because technology cannot onboard that and operations cannot support that. Therefore there is a bottleneck or a pain point in that workflow process. That's just an example, but let's dive in to see how we can unravel this mystery together. Right, so the next question is, when should a BA run one? Service design workshops are typically run in discovery workshops that can be multiple in nature, when teams need to understand the current state before designing a solution for it. So it could be digital transformations, it could be a customer improvement journey, it could be a new product launch, it could be a process redesign itself. For example, if I take a bank who are trying to improve their onboarding process, they want to map the journey across from the website, from their mobile app, from their verification systems such as customer screening, KYCs, and internal approval processes. Before writing that a single requirement, we want to have all of those workflows fine-tuned and see if that transformation makes sense. So that's sort of a redesigning the service delivery across all these channels and systems, as well as improving the customers side of things, because it's and at the end of the day, it's an improvement for the customer that will give you a lot of leverage against what services you are giving out for them. This can be used for new product launches as well. So that is how mapping how customers are interact with new offers, interact with your new product, and finally it could be a process redesign in itself as well. So if we take a clunky process that we have at a certain organization, we just have to, as BAs, we have to see that process through and then align operational workflows with the journey that customers are actually using. So that's quite important. This is when should a BA run one, and in order to prepare for this is actually a very important slide, because this is more often BAs and analysts and consultants ask this question, like how do we prepare for this and what are the necessary artifacts that I need to give. So before going to the necessary artifacts, I would take a moment to prepare for this when an analysis can succeed or fail. First of all, strong preparation is all it takes, is the difference between a productive session and a frustrating one, as I said here. So before the workshop, try to have the problem statement clear in your head. So what is the problem that we are solving? You might not necessarily have the numbers with you, but then try to, as the second point, try to gather some evidence on that. So if someone says we have a problem in our onboarding session, the customers are not onboarding enough, then you have to seek to evidence like what channels are you are getting traffic from all these customers, and then look at if there are customers falling off from a specific workflow. If that is the case, we have to see what is the percentage of dropping off, at which stage we are dropping off, and look to see from that operational data, etc. So all these facts, if you can gather, as the second point says, the evidence is what is necessary here. And then ensure, the third point is quite important, because we need to have the right stakeholders at the workshop, because we need to have product, operations, technology. If it is customer support, it has to be customer support. If it is an onboarding experience, then marketing has to be there, customer experience managers needs to be there, customer improvement specialist needs to be there. Everyone who has a say in that workflow or is directly responsible for that workflow has to be in the session. So that's one preparation that I do as a consultant or business analyst. I usually have a create problem statement in my mind, and I document those in advance, and then proceed some evidence, look to see if there are evidence that I can back with that for that problem statement. At least 3 months of data, it's worth spinning up some Power BI diagrams or Power BI using Power BI or SQL or any other data analysis tools, and then send a pack to the right set of stakeholders saying that this is what I have found, these are the areas that we should look into, and therefore this workshop is necessary. Of course, you would want the decision makers in the right stakeholder column as well as the project sponsor when you are going into a workshop like this. Alright, so the first step is mapping the current journey. So you at the workshop level, what you have to do is visualize the end-to-end journey. So first thing is the discovery place, where essentially your customers learns about the product. Customer requests a form via a form their information. System or the backend operations will verify that customer data and then move for an approval. So why this matters is that you want all the stakeholders to clearly see how everything connects to each other. One thing is it gives you a visualizing view of where the end-to-end experience is currently at, and then break down as each department see how their work connects. So for example, if marketing sees, okay, so this is our part on the discovery side and the application is not on our side, it's basically on the system side, so then that's where I ask for the technical expertise or the operational expertise to come on board and to see. So this I would say decomposition of this entire process makes all of the departments see, all of the stakeholders see where their work fits into their workflow. And even if their workflow is really efficient, they can see bottlenecks happening throughout the workflow and why they might or might not be contributing to that workflow inefficiencies. So as a takeaway, map the current journey, write all the responses on a board or a canvas so the whole team can see this in one go as a end-to-end experience. Step 2 is all about identifying the pain points. So for example, if I take earlier example of a customer coming on board, if they abandon the form is not identifiable enough, or form is not up to its level of quality, customers will drop off. Verification failures can happen in the operational side of things. Identity checks fails without clear guidance for recovery. So for example, if a customer comes on board and then identity check is taking a long time, then the customer is not notified at all. So there's a pain point there where the customer is likely to fall off. So that's a pain point that we need to resolve. As well as contributing to that, there can be manual delays as well. Stuck in manual queues for checking. It goes from different department, it goes into a queue, and then there's a wait time there. So the next step is basically call out their experiences where they break down. Try to be very strict about these pain points, as well as ensure all stakeholders can talk to it, because it can be it can get messy when all the stakeholders there has their own goals in looking into this workshop. So that's relates to the previous point as well, where they can see the current state. So always relay back to the current state and stick them or anchor them into the problem statement that they are clearly resolving here. So the outcome here, this would be the scoring points. These pain points helps the team move from like everything feels like broken, we are not doing anything about it, but it's a prioritized focus list of the problems that matters most in your workflows. All right, so now you have all the pain points. Stick it onto a sticky notes or a board, and then explore opportunities. Now there can be a lot of opportunities here. There can be viable opportunities as well as non-viable opportunities. What I mean by non-viable is some opportunities might not be technically feasible. Some might be really quick wins. So here we are just discussing how might we just go from problem mood to resolving mood to quantify this and then look to see how much of a pain point that we can cover up with a quick win. Now there's a caveat here. You have to take into context the technical feasibility, which I will be talking to in a bit. Yeah, so technical reality is the other one. You can have lots of ideas, but in order to stay grounded into your ideas and resolution of problems, you have to look at system dependencies, integration requirements, and security and compliance. So this is a really sensitive way of putting this one. So you have lots of ideas and lots of things that you can do. And then these system dependencies or upstream or downstream processes has to align there. So you have to take a little bit more time to evaluate these impacts, and technically, if it is like a technical reality exists where APIs or data feeds are not available, just focus on that and then say that this is not achievable here, because it's a real constraint that is currently they are having. What my advice is to be like really honest here, and then just say that if you do not know, we are yet to be found. Have a parking lot of ideas, and then take it to the relevant stakeholders in the as next actions. We have to check on security as compliance as well, especially if you're in an enterprise setting. What regulatory or data protection requirements really apply. So that could be a bottleneck as well, but the technical reality is that. So you have to be grounded onto your problems that you are looking for. All right, so then present you can go and present to the stakeholders saying these are our quick wins, these are our strategic bets which are high impact and high effort. There can be low impact ones with low effort, which are like fill-ins that we can do. We have to reconsider the high effort ones that are low impacts, which are like highlighted as real bottlenecks. So here you would do is you can schedule some really high impact and low effort ones, which gives you a really good advantage on getting into production and provide some value. As a business analyst, if you are providing a lot of value there, just understanding those and try to cater for those would be like really helpful. And then rest of the things you can group it into a roadmap items. I'll share another video explaining what roadmap is and what is that. For this context and for this particular video, think of it as a calendar full of events where you can see what's coming up on these days and these days. So that is a single roadmap. You can have a transformation roadmap as well based on these number of opportunities that you have understood. So from these insights you move into delivery plans. So that's a roadmap, and in case if you are working through with your tech team, you can have it as a prioritized delivery plan together with your product owner and project manager. That's one step that you can do, but the idea is to have a prioritized set of opportunities here, log them, document them, and ensure that you share this one with stakeholders. All right, when it comes to the last deliverable of after the workshop, what you can do is your consultancy or the analysis job is not over. It can get into multiple streams of workshops, but at the end of each workshop, make sure that you have a customer journey map, the current process properly undocumented. It can be an as-is process, it can be process map, it could be a BPMN diagram as well. And then as a service blueprint, you can have like layers, the front end journeys, who is fronting this information, what is the backend, what is the underlying APIs or the infrastructure, and then who is the customer. So it makes sure that it is easily understandable as a blueprint and make sure that it is high level enough that anybody in the workplace can understand. Clearly articulate problem statement and friction points for solution design. So this will be important for the engineering team who will be working on the solution. Also have a backlog of opportunities that we discovered from the future process after talking to all the stakeholders, and then finally a sequence plan linking workshop outcomes to your team commitments after discussing that with your technical team. So there you would have to work with your architectural team, your engineering team, tech leads and BAs, other BAs. It could be your product manager, product owner, or even project manager. So those are the 5 deliverables after the workshop that I would say that you would want to have. These are the minimum ones that I think, but there can be more based depending on the context and depending on the scenarios. As the final thought about service design workshops, it is a conversation in the first place, and then it's a conversation that we as business analysts shift the mindset from internal processes and siloed processes to customer outcomes. So if customer is using it's a front-end operation and a mission critical environment, the customer outcome is the most valuable thing. So so the outcome is basically teams asking how the customer experience of this service should be, rather than how does one system work. So that's the whole point of having a service design workshop. Yeah, so that could give you the change in perspective or the change in mindset, reveal improvements that are invisible before. Yeah, so hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think about service design workshops or your experience on service design workshops. I'm really glad to hear them, and then share some more ideas. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.